Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic and Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I'm here to give you my review of Coming to America. The sequel to the original Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, the original classic, aka one of Eddie Murphy's most memorable movies, Coming to America, that came out about 30 years ago. That's freaking crazy that movie came out so fucking long ago, man. Like I said, that movie came out almost 30 years ago, something like that. The original Coming to America. And this sequel takes place in real time, 30 years later. Prince Hakeem has been ruling Zamunda for, 30 years as the king. Him and his wife's marriage is great. He has 3 beautiful daughters. Everyone's living pretty good. But unfortunately, not everybody is not everything is going quite the way they want, because as usual with most of royalty kind of like this is that you have that your son or the son of the next firstborn son has to be the ruler of the kingdom. And it wasn't a problem for it wasn't a real problem for Hakeem, for a long time, because he had 3 daughters, but he's in his mind, he's still young, he's still here. But his father, played by James Earl Jones, of course, he passes away in this movie. And when his father passes away, the Prince King becomes vulnerable to this general played by Wesley Snipes, named General. I think his name's Easy. I think it's Easy. I think that's what it is. General Easy, played by Wesley Snipes, who is hilarious in this movie. He's pretty funny when he does show up. And Izzy's basically like, either one of your daughters is gonna have to marry one of my sons, because Izzy's like he's a general of the closest land to Zamunda. They're pretty much right next to each other. And in fact, the land that Izzy rules is if you remember in the first movie, Prince Hakeem was supposed to marry this one girl from the same land to unite them, but he was like, I don't want to do that shit. She's she's just a puppet. She's not a real person. Because he asked her to jump on her foot and bark like a dog, and she just did it. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to be with you because you don't have a mind of your own. I'm gonna go off to America to find a woman who I love, but mind, body, and soul. Shit, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, mind, body, and soul, and he did. He found one. Movie ended beautifully, but this movie, like I said, takes place years later. And needless to say, the general is really putting fire to Hakeem's feet, because he basically is saying either you unite us or we're gonna kill you. And, we know you're weak, we'll kill you. Even his father just straight up just like, yeah, when I die, the only reason they haven't killed you yet is because I'm still alive. And it would be disrespectful to kill you while I'm still alive, because there's so much respect and fear of me. But once I die, you're screwed. They're gonna just take your ass out. He's like, I raised you too weak, I raised you too soft. They're gonna take you out as soon as I go in the grave. And his father dies, and needless to say, Hakeem is feeling the heat, but his best friend / close confidants, Simeon, his best friend Simeon, Simeon had gotten Hakeem high as a kite at one point while they were in America, because Simeon was trying to get laid himself and get the king laid. Something happened. He ended up accidentally knocking up a girl in Queens, and they had an illegitimate child named Laval. And LeVar, I think his name's LeVar anyways. I'm sorry, I keep looking at my phone because I really want to get these names right, and I'll have Lavelle. See? Lavelle. Now, Lavelle is a good dude. He seems like a really decent dude. It's not like, at first, I thought it was going to be one of those cases of he's like this awful human being, and fucking, and goddamn Hakeem is just so fucking nervous and so fucking scared of what could happen to him that he's willing to let this brat, this horrible illegitimate bastard, as he continues to say, from Queens, take over his kingdom. But no, Lavelle's a really good dude. He's a good dude. He has a head on his shoulders. He really wants to be better. He really doesn't want to be in Queens forever. He wants to do more with his life. He wants to be more. So, and he's a good dude. Like I said, he's a good kid. He's 30 years old. He's older than me, so kid is relative. But he's a good, he's a decent human being. But when, Hakeem shows up and takes him and his mom back to Zamunda, all the craziness happens. Now, I will go out on a limb. I'm going to tell you this right now. This is not as good as the original Coming to America. I'm going to just tell you that right now. First of all, it's slightly held back by the PG-13 rating. And you've heard me, right? Me! Talk about how PG-13 rating doesn't matter. But I've often said, but the difference is when you start R, you can't go PG. When you start R, you shouldn't go PG. You know what I mean? If your biggest success was an R-rated movie, you can't go PG after that. You can't go from a PG movie. It'd be like Step Brothers being PG-13. You know what I mean? It'd be like Anchorman being PG-13. Which, if I'm recall, was Anchorman 2 PG-13? I don't think it was, but you know what I mean? Like there are certain movies that especially comedies that are kind of based on that. There are so many jokes from that original movie that were really raunchy and really pushing it because it was an R rating that they can't do that in this movie. And that's not a bad thing if you come up with more clever things to do, but overall, while I had some chuckles in the movie, I didn't think it was all that funny. There were funny bits. There were a bunch of funny bits. But overall, I didn't really find it to be that funny. Not to mention that there's a message in here about women and about how Zamunda's rules are ass backwards, how women can't do this and women can't do that in Zamunda, and how, that's a shame. And I'm like, you know what, okay, because the messaging started off subtle. It started off real subtle. Then, man, the more that movie went on, the more they started just really hammering it home. And I was like, man, okay, I understand. I get the messages you're trying to put out here. Even in the tail end, out of nowhere, they just bring up the mom. Oh, I thought your mother was always the wisest of all the... I'm like, girl, where did that even come from? I get it. I know. I get what you're trying to tell me. Women are great. I don't need you to tell me that. I know women are great. I know women are equal. I know women can do just as many things, accomplish just as much things as a man can. I don't need you to tell me that, but the movie really wanted to fucking tell me that. On top of that, the ending didn't logically make a lick of sense because it doesn't actually change anything. I don't want to spoil anything for you because the movie just came out, so I want you guys to see it. But the entire movie... The whole reason Hakeem is doing all this shit is because he thinks that fucking Wesley Snipes character, Izzy or whatever, is gonna murder him, is gonna assassinate him. Nothing changed that. Literally, nothing changed that. Something happened near the tail end where he kind of lost a fight, but it didn't change the fact that he still wanted to assassinate his ass. It didn't change a thing. And it didn't really make a lick of sense near the tail end of it. And, that didn't make sense. But in the end, another thing that didn't make sense is a lot of the characters who came back. Now, you had to do that when you're making a sequel because you're playing off nostalgia, and this movie really does play off nostalgia. This is a movie, this movie ain't made for me. This is made for, my grandmother. This is made for, my mother, my father, my uncle, my grandmother. This ain't made for me. Because I don't have that kind of fond nostalgia of the original Coming to America. I remember it being really funny. But when that movie came out, I was so fucking young. It was I remember stuff about that movie. But I don't have that nostalgia and attachment to it. And, when they start bringing out Salt and Pepper and all these different musicians from the past, I'm just okay, that's cool, but that don't mean shit to me. That don't mean jack shit to me. Only time I popped for one of those appearances, pop is a wrestling term for, excitement. Only time I popped for any of those appearances, because they had a litany of celebrity appearances that happened over the course of the movie, was when Morgan Freeman showed up. That's about it. Because I know Morgan Freeman. I've seen Morgan Freeman. I've seen him in a shit ton of things. I know who Morgan Freeman is. So it was great to see Morgan Freeman. It's great to see James Earl Jones, even though he was a part of the story, so it's a bit different. But overall, man, this movie to me is just it's not a pale imitation of the first movie because I'll give them credit, they did try to do something different. They really did. It's just not as funny as the first movie. It's just not as memorable as the first movie. It doesn't have as many good quotes as the first movie. I'm going to forget about this movie after I've seen it. I just felt like I had to review it because it just came out. I have Amazon Prime. I might as well watch it. It's something that people are going to talk about. So I decided to watch Coming to America. And while I enjoyed Eddie Murphy, I enjoyed Arsenio Hall, I enjoyed Wesley Snipes, I enjoyed Leslie Jones. There are funny things in it. It's not, you know what I mean? It's just the sequel to Coming to America. And the problem with the problem is, I don't think you should ever make sequels to comedies, because, especially great comedies, because you can't capture that again. You just can't. There's nothing to capture. Like, comedies need to sit in the little bubble that they're in and never be touched again. Coming to America, while this movie wasn't so bad that it made me go, oh my god, they just ruined Coming. You know, like, some people say that. I don't believe that, but I don't think this movie is even that bad. I thought it was okay. Had some fun performances in there sporadically throughout the course of the film. There was funny bits sporadically throughout the course of the film. A lot of the bits weren't as funny because you saw them coming, so when they happened, I was like, okay, well, I saw the funny bit coming. But there were still funny bits. There were still some fun things. There was still, it was great to see all these characters again. I would give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's, like I said, I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's an okay to good movie. You know, it's okay. It doesn't, like I said, it's just, you know, maybe it just pales in the shadow of the original movie, which, that happens. Like, I don't know why people would even think to make sequels to these things to come out 30, 20 years later and make a sequel to it. Like, it never works out. In this movie, you know, it didn't embarrass its legacy. You know what I mean? I've seen movies embarrass their legacy. This movie didn't do that. It's not like it blew up. It's not like it's not like anyone's gonna sit around debating if this movie's better than the original, though. That's not even gonna be a thought in anybody's mind. No one's gonna think that at all. It's not even close to that. But it didn't embarrass the original. You know what I mean? It didn't do that. It's like if your father was like a professional football player in the NFL, and like you were a backup quarterback in the NFL. Sure, your father's like a Hall of Famer. Sure, you didn't make it big time, but you made it to the NFL. You didn't embarrass yourself and just not make it. So I mean, that's basically what this is. It did embarrass its legacy. Had some funny jokes. Had some funny characters. But overall, ain't much to the movie. Ain't much here. And it was in. It's out. Already forgotten about it. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. And I will be uploading certain things to my Patreon very soon. Thank you guys again. I'll see you in the next one.